Powered by Riverside.
Jazzy.
Welcome to the new podcast on the Sad Fan Podcast Network. I let all the fans know we were going to be expanding. There's going to be another special message coming out soon. But this is our new property, Popcorn and Beers, where some rate with tomatoes and others rate with thumbs. We rate with the stuff that gets you drunk. Welcome in. If you guys want to introduce yourself to the audience.
Oh, sure. My name is Josh. I've been watching movies since the 80s.
Watching movies since the 90s.
And as always, I am Fry. So, as we build out these properties, just so everyone knows, we'll be taking Fry will be taking more of a backseat when it comes to the Gorp. We're just looking at filling that slot in where Taylor used to exist. But as soon as we have that cast member filled in permanently, I will be here. I will be in the background on Gorp, and I will be on the Sad Fan as always. But let's tell the fans what this is all about.
What's it all about?
What's life about? We will have, once a week, we will have the new movie for you. And that will be the butter on top, because that is the best part of the popcorn. We will not give you spoilers, however, we will give you opinions that may spoil your opinion on the movie. We will also give you our drunken classic every week. Those will be our two mains. And outside of that, we're just going to let you know what we're watching and what's available to you via whatever streaming service we may have caught it on. So, Jordan, if you'd like to start, what were you watching this week?
Well, let's see. We went back and watched the original Avatar just to get in prep for the new one coming out with all the hype going on. I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters. So, was that 10, 11 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Just decided to get a little refresher course on it. And honestly, see why that movie made so much money back then, you know? I get it. It was good. The effects hold up, you know, a decade later. Just the lore, the world, all of it. It was very enjoyable. I mean, it's very long. So if you're, you know, some people are just like, if a movie is that long, I'm not watching it. You know, give it the full star, popcorn and 3 beer rating on that one.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Strong disagree.
That's a strong disagree. It's okay. And really quick before Josh throws out his blurb for disagree, the rating system, just so the audience knows, what we do here is if you score 1 popcorn, that means, you know what, it wasn't a good movie. I had my popcorn, sat through it, but it was bad. Exactly. A popcorn and a beer means serviceable, was able to have a beer, decent flick. Popcorn, 2 beers, it was a good movie. Not the best movie I've ever seen, not great, not amazing, but a decent movie, a good movie to watch, have a couple beers. And popcorn, 3 beers means I'm going to get drunk. I'm going to enjoy this because this is one of the greatest movies that I have seen. All right, so Jordan rated Avatar 1 popcorn, 3 beers, meaning he was ready to have a couple beers, kick his feet up, and enjoy that flick. But we had a strong disagree. I think I already smell a segment coming. The strong disagree. Josh, what is your counter?
Oh, just to keep it brief, I mean, it was a spectacle of a movie, and that was the point of the movie, so I understand that part. And it still does mostly hold up as far as CG goes. I would just like a movie not written by a child, and stolen entirely from Fern Gully like 20 years before. It's, you know, just get a good, hire one writer to make the movie, please. And then we'll be all right. So I give it a popcorn and a beer, but I understand also why people liked it, so I get you.
I understand where Jordan's coming from. It was it did have an opportunity to be this generation's Star Wars, right? And it did create a whole universe. Like Jordan said, like it's a whole universe in itself. It can create multiple worlds that stem from it, much like Star Wars did. But I'm also in line with, I think James Cameron needs to get over himself. He kind of slobs on his own knob. And I would also give it a popcorn and a beer. For the time, though, if I go all the way back in time, I would say a popcorn, 2 beers. Even back then, I was like, but I got the special effects were amazing.
Get it? It's good. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, can we just separate the man from the art and just look at the movie? The movie has a whole. We've been to Disney World. I've been to Disney World last year. It has its own like world built into Disney World. Like it's impactful. It did something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the Fern Gully reference just over the head.
Probably when we were watching Fern Gully, you were maybe 2 years old.
I had the VHS my entire childhood sitting right there on the shelf, just full of dust. I've never watched. I don't think I've ever watched it. Is that good?
It is good. It is a good movie. It's great. It was
the
actually a cosmic event when it came out. I remember theaters were sold out for Fern Gully. They were so sold out that my mother and my aunt, they had a bunch of us kids, and it was so sold out that there were like no seats left. So my parents bought tickets to a different movie, and my aunts bought tickets to a different movie, and had us sitting on the floor in the theater, to look up at the movie screen to watch Fern Gully. Like, it was an event. It was really big.
That's
it's
cool.
wild to think about.
I love
now.
that. Yeah, that's insane.
All right. So what else do you have for us, Jordan?
I watched Amsterdam, which is supposed to have a lot of buzz. Had all these famous people in it: Taylor Swift, Drake, Robert De Niro. Just all these cameos. Just famous. They're just throwing famous people at you left and right. But it was a steaming pile. It was awful. It was so convoluted. You want a good movie. There's point A and point B, and you kind of want it to, just have these ebbs and flows that gets you there.
Yeah.
This movie was just here, there, it was going in every direction at the same time and never really pulling it together in a way that you felt like you knew what was what was going on.
So it was like a scatter plot.
Yeah. It was just, it started somewhere in the middle and then it cut back, kind of towards the end, and then it went back to the beginning, and it was trying to do way too much, and just it really heavily relied on just its star power, I think, to get you through it.
So who were those stars?
Margot Robbie.
Okay.
John Day. Yes, everybody loves Margot Robbie, right? God, oh my God. John David Washington, Denzel's son, which I feel like a lot of people don't know that. Like, I tell people, like, that's Denzel's son, and they're like, really?
Yeah.
So, Christian Bale.
Wow.
Who's great. Yeah, he plays a real nut job in that movie. He's got to be the most interesting character in that movie. He's really well written out. Cameos from Drake, cameos from Taylor Swift, as I said. Robert De Niro plays a part kind of towards the end. Rami Malek is in it. Anya Taylor-Joy. Yeah, there's just... Oh man, it's endless. It's
it's a who's who.
Yes, yeah.
So they wrote all the checks for everyone's acting performance. Like, oh, we got to make a movie too. Fuck. Okay.
That's funny. I haven't seen it yet. But what would you rate it?
I would say one
popcorn.
Huh? Yeah.
That, for all those stars, they couldn't even muster a beer.
That'll happen sometimes.
It was bad. It would have.
Yeah.
It had me really feeling some regret about halfway through it. I was like, oh boy, but I was like, something's got to happen here. It never really did.
I'm actually more excited for Babylon, I think, with Margot Robbie in it. I think Babylon looks really, really good. with Margot Robbie, and I think that's going to be Oscar buzz. I think what's funny is most men. Let me be clear. Most straight men always go, "Oh, The Wolf on Wall Street" for Margot Robbie. But my favorite Margot Robbie performance was actually I, Tonya. I thought when she won the Oscar, I would totally agree with the Academy, and that doesn't happen often. But if you look into how they shot that movie, they shot it in like a couple weeks because the timeline was so tight. Her production company was the production company that did it, and she acted in it, and she was phenomenal as Tonya Harding.
That's great.
So yeah, that was my favorite. But we got one popcorn for Amsterdam. That's a shame because it is on my queue. I'll probably still give it a check out because I love movies. But thank you for letting me set in proper expectation. Right?
Yeah.
You have one more, right, Jordan?
Yes, I watched a movie called Lou on Netflix. Netflix original film. It's about an old woman lives up in some bumfuck nowhere town. We're allowed to swear on this podcast, right?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Sure hope so.
Okay.
We're not sponsored quite yet. We're working on it.
Yeah, she lives up in the sticks, and she's starts out she's kind of rolling through town, being a grouch. People, they flee from her, and then she has this tenant on her property who she treats like crap. Okay. Once a storm rolls in and her child is taken, she runs to Lou, says, "Hey, my ex-husband is a Green Beret. You need to help me track down my kid." She grabs her go bag and they're basically journeying through the forest trying to track down this man who stole her kid, and she's figuring out that there's more to Lou than she thought. So I don't want to give away too much, but it's for what it is. It's good.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah. I think I'm in the last about 20 minutes of it, but there's a lot of twists. It's pretty good. I've got to say so far.
Are you going to reserve your rating for the end, or are you going to give it a rating now?
I know where it's going. I'm gonna go ahead and rate it. I'm gonna give it one popcorn and one beer.
Nice.
One popcorn and one beer. So it's a watcher. You can watch it, but hedging your bet exactly. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, what do you got for us?
Stuff I watched. Well, I watched Black Adam. Not sure if you guys have heard of that. It's a little indie film with Dwayne Johnson. Black Adam. Sorry. So I'm actually disagreeing with most critics. I thought it was pretty dang good. It was a little bit formulaic, but it's a superhero movie, dummy. So I give it a popcorn and a beer. It was solid all the way through. Good special effects. Nobody was really overacting. Some people weren't acting at all, but it was good.
The kid is not great in that movie.
Good.
The kid was rough.
yeah, but he had a rough role. That's a tough role for to be the likable, spunky, squirrely kid who ends up being a big part of saving the day kind of thing. It's a trope that exists for a long time, and half the time, no one wants you to be alive. The character, okay, we have to have a plucky kid. Great. So he did okay, but you're right, he wasn't really amazing.
An audience, you can catch that one on HBO Max. That's also where you could catch. That's also where you can catch Amsterdam, and Lou would be on Netflix. Avatar, you're gonna have to look that one up. That one I don't know where that
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
Strictly Disney. Yeah. I also watched. I watched Bullet Train, starring the Pit of Brads. Yeah. I thought that was solid. I give it. What is it? 2 beers or 3 beers is the top? 2 beers is top.
1 popcorn, 3 beers is the top.
Okay, so I gave it 1 and 2. Popcorn and 2 beers. It was almost an instant classic. It was right there on the line for me. It's just a solid, there's action. They do a little bit of tongue-in-cheek joking throughout it. You never quite know where the movie's going. It's almost until the very end. So it's sort of like a mystery, why is all this happening? Why, blah, blah, blah. Great action scenes. Maybe it leans a little bit heavy on the comedy within the action, like Marvel's sort of started with Ant-Man and stuff, but they didn't start it. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I give it popcorn and some beers, and as long as it's a solid action movie and they're not taking it too seriously, that's always one of my favorite types of movies.
Okay, I think Jordan, you've seen it as well.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that movie. I'd probably keep the same rating you did for it. I love when the villains were very Kill Bill-esque.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're all like so unique with their own reason why they're involved in this story.
Yeah.
I love when movies do that, when you feel like the movie loves its villains. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it's all about the villains. Yeah. The Mexican gangster guy, for sure. He was a big part of it. One of my favorite characters was the guy who was a cartel gangster, and he just fights Brad Pitt.
Yes, Bad Bunny.
Yeah, Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
I gotta catch that movie. I keep forgetting it's available on Netflix. Jordan, you've seen Black Adam?
Yes.
What would you rate Black Adam?
Yes, I did. Give it a barely two beers. Like, I gotta give it a beer and a half.
Beer and a half.
Like,
yeah.
it's so.
Beer and a half.
I don't want to start convoluting the rating system, but that's convoluting is a good word. Is a word that pops in my mind because the DC universe is just so convoluted to me. It just nothing seems like it cares about the next movie. It's like they're in a money grab all for themselves. It's not a franchise.
Hopefully James Gunn can straighten that out.
Yeah, right.
Well, he's apparently going to, because DC's biggest weakness is they've had really good cartoon movies. They've had decent movies.
Great cartoon movies.
And what they've always needed to do, they never united. But James Gunn has specifically said he wants to bring TV and the straight to DVD movies, put them all together so they're all following the same sort of universal timeline. And I think that's where DC might come over the top of Marvel. That's their only chance, in my opinion.
We'll see. I mean, it's the same formula as Marvel, and I would tend to agree, again, with Josh. I don't like where this is going, but I would give it a popcorn and a beer as well for me. Yep. I like that you added that half beer, though. That was a pretty creative way to give it a little over the snide. Like, not quite a popcorn and 2 beers, but a popcorn and a beer and a half.
One of those fancy beers where it's like, it's good, but I don't want to finish it. Like a blueberry stout or something.
And Josh, what is your last one?
Oh, last one, just real quick. We're going to probably have to talk about boundaries with what we consider film and stuff, but I watched Neil Brennan's Blocks on Netflix, stand-up special. I thought it was worth mentioning because it's something I watched, but also because it was really, really good. It was a beautiful stand-up special, and I don't know if anyone's familiar with Neil Brennan, but he tends to go pretty deep with his content. He's not just telling a bunch of jokes, and he dives into his mental illnesses and does it in such a poignant, hilarious way. It was just a great movie. I almost teared up at the end.
Okay, all right, I dig it. I really enjoy Neil Brennan, and for those of you that don't know, he's a phenomenal film writer and comedian writer as well. He's written for a lot of comedians and he's written some films. Probably the one that's received the most notoriety would be Half Baked. I would say probably that was probably the one that most people would be like, oh yeah, he wrote that with Dave Chappelle. Huh?
Yep, they wrote that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so probably well high. For me, I'll be really quick so we can get into the butter on top. I went ahead and watched Hey Pepsi, Where's My Jet, which is available on Netflix for everyone. I would give it a popcorn and a beer. I would say it trails off, and it's probably a little bit longer than it should have been. Kind of like the Monopoly documentary on HBO, where you're like, I probably could have gotten this in an hour and a half, and you gave me 4 hours or 8 episodes, right? But the story's amazing. You totally side, I think, in my opinion, you totally side with the kid, which I think should be the case in most instances where you don't want to side with big corporations, right? And I don't want to discourage Pepsi from sponsoring us. I love you, Pepsi. But in this case, you probably should have given that kid his jet. You made a mistake, and I'm not going to ruin the ending for you, but you probably should just give the kid the jet. You probably should have done that, and then we wouldn't have a documentary, though.
Financial equivalent, which would be like, what, $100 million? But
$32 million. $32 million.
Oh, that's not that much. It's just they can buy that. Come on.
Yeah. They were very stingy, but you did find out. The reason I'm going to give it a popcorn and a beer is because you do find out some other things that have gone on with advertising or marketing campaigns with Pepsi and other companies that have gone really terribly wrong in other countries. Oh. So it goes a lot along the lines of maybe some false advertising or not keeping your word. So you can find that on Netflix. Sorry, Jordan, do you have something to go? Do you have something to add?
I'm just thinking we can't have people just having jets fall into the wrong hands. What is that? What is a child actually going to do? Could you imagine having a jet?
Yeah, I mean, no.
Yeah.
But if you watch it, you do learn about his business plan. And I was like, you know what? That's a pretty solid business plan for a kid to come up with. So, popcorn and a beer. It's definitely worth the watch. You should definitely check it out. The next one I did was Bros, and the critics. It has such a high score on Rotten Tomatoes. It has such a high score on IMDb. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I am all for representation, but I am not for overrating something based on representation. And that is what I think we have a classic case of overrating a very, very mediocre, poorly acted movie just because of representation. I think Hollywood is notorious for this, where, oh my God, you did something that's out of the norm, and we want to reward you for including this and being inclusive, and that's cool. I want you to be inclusive, but at the same time, I'm not going to give you a good rating just because you were representative of a marginalized culture or sex or group of people. I'm not doing that, and it was not a good movie. Like, it was borderline unwatchable as far as the acting was concerned. Writing was super generic writing. And essentially, I boil it down to a really bad B-movie rom-com, right? And it was just, as far as LGBT community was concerned, fantastic. I loved it. Thank you for highlighting that community. But it wasn't a good movie, and I'm sure I'll get. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. It was a triumph, and it wasn't. It was I don't think anyone's
no one's gonna come after your head for this. I'm pretty sure no one liked it.
But it's got like a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was like, man, this is probably a pretty good movie, and it was just like I said, a B movie rom-com that you'd see on Netflix. It's like new Netflix movie. That's not like a headlining movie, but maybe you might want to watch it. It was that, and it was. Yeah. It wasn't. It just. I wanted to like it, right? You go into it and you're like, man, I really want to like it, and maybe I had my expectations set too high by reading some of the reviews before I watched it. But I was just like, this is just corny. It was borderline unwatchable. We'll give it one popcorn. Go ahead, Jordan.
Go ahead.
Oh man, but. Shout out to Billy Eichner, though. I love Billy Eichner.
Oh, yeah, big fan.
You want to like it for Billy Eichner. You know, it's one of those guys where you want to see him win. Because I love Billy on the Street.
Yeah.
Billy on the Street.
He should have put out a Billy he should have put out a Billy on the Street movie first as his introduction.
Yeah.
This is his like first real, feature film, right? That he kind of was at the head of. I think he needed to bring along that Billy on the Street audience with him before doing something this personal.
Yeah. He's got a lot of potential as an entertainer. But you know what? It's your first movie. You're gonna bomb. Keep moving. Let's go. Write something else, buddy. I want to see it. Yeah,
and so it sounds like you've seen it, Jordan.
No,
not yet.
Have not.
So it's available on Peacock. It's available streaming on Peacock. If you guys want to check it out, the audience wants to check it out. I mean, it is great for the representation. It does paint that crowd in a very positive light. It does inform if you are one of those people that's just very ill-informed on the LGBTQ community. But I grew up with it around me at all times. My uncle was very big in Pride. He was a gay male in the hardest times when it was to be a gay male. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm not really learning anything, so I could see if critics were learning why they would rate it so high. But if you're just a fan of cinema, it just wasn't a good movie, and I hate to say it. The last movie I saw was Emancipation with Will Smith. I will say it's probably going to get nominated for some awards for cinematography, set design, and costume design. His acting will not get nominated. I think that a lot of people are going to hold a grudge against him for the slap. I think that he was okay. Probably if he hadn't slapped Chris Rock, he might have gotten a nom. Even though it wasn't
Keep
good.
his wife's name out of your mouth.
It's not even his wife anymore, right? Just a courtesy. Aren't they going through a divorce right now? Just a courtesy nod probably would have gotten for it. But yeah, cinematography, set design, phenomenal.
Really?
The way it was shot was so beautiful.
That's cool.
I liked a lot of the choices they made. For those of you that aren't familiar, it is a story of slavery in Louisiana post-Civil War, so after Abraham had freed the slaves. And you still have them marching west to free additional slaves. So it's Louisiana was one of the last states to get the news of the slaves being freed. And it goes along the story of Will Smith's character. And it's definitely a popcorn and a beer just because the set design, the dialogue was really good, I thought. But it wasn't super well acted. I think they could have done a better job with the story. Kind of like you said with Amsterdam, it gets convoluted at times where you're kind of like, hey, pick a story and stick to that story.
Yeah.
It's trying to tell a lot of different stories, and that's available on Apple Plus for everyone. And I'm going to rate it a popcorn and a beer.
Popping corns. Yeah,
So-
with for bros, just briefly, do you?
Yeah.
And we can cut this if it's controversial, but it reminded me. You tell me with the critics overdoing it with the ratings and such. Reminds me of Monsters Ball with Halle Berry, and she got Best Actress for that movie. And like,
I think didn't it also get a Best Picture nomination?
maybe so. And it was a great movie, and her performance was good. But I think a lot of it was leaning on we got to give a black actress an award. Like, damn it. And I think they kind of pushed that a little bit. Maybe that's just my opinion. But
You're going to have to listen back. You're editing this one. So you're going to have to listen back. I'm not sure how it sounds in the moment. I'm comfortable with it.
She's had better movies, is what I'm saying. She's had better movies.
Yeah.
And it just feels like it was just time, there was pressure. And I'm glad she got her award because she deserves a Best Actor award.
Yeah.
But,
like Leonardo DiCaprio, The Revenant.
Right.
I enjoyed the movie, super long, but Tom Hardy was the star. Tom Hardy was the star of The Revenant. Like, it was long, and the part of me that was still invested in it was Tom Hardy. I felt like that guy acted his ass off in that movie.
I'll watch him do anything.
And then Leo got... Go ahead.
I think he had some antics going on the set, and I think that kind of put him in a bad place. Tom Hardy is what I hear, is that he was like showing up 2-3 hours late to set with no reason, you know what I mean? Just kind of being a jerk. So
that's important.
I think
that whole
could have had something to do with it.
That whole movie was filmed in the golden hour, right? So time was very much of the essence.
It's just like him and Scorsese are a couple that had earned the award time over time, and they just got passed over for their better movies and then got it for a lesser movie. But let's get into the butter on top really quick, and then we will end with the drunken classic. The butter on top this week was the menu, which we all saw. We all have thoughts. Jordan, why don't you lead the way?
I thought one of the best movies I've seen this year.
Okay.
To be honest, I loved it. It really had you from the very beginning to the end. It's one of those movies where it has you, guessing where, like, who. I'm kind of getting lost in my thoughts here. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I agree with you, by the way. I thought it was probably one of the better films all year. But it was a guessing game at first. It definitely pulled you in and had you like, all right, what in the fuck is going on here?
Definitely.
Take itself too serious, but it had this tone of like, it's very like like releases you every now and then. It releases a little tension, you know what I mean, throughout the movie. It's
Yeah.
not just like constantly. So you're not disappointed when you don't have that like no spoiler. When you just don't have that the most satisfying conclusion that you think you're gonna have.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt that bad when it gets there.
That's a
You know
good
what
point.
I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that because the ending did, in some small ways, I was like not quite nailed it for me. But now that you point that out, it makes sense. Like I get that now.
That was a good way to put it because I think so. Josh and I shot Gorp last night, and to all of our new viewers that are just more attracted to movie reviews and movies, entertainment, we have another show called Gorp, and we were talking about it in pre-production, and we both of us were saying, man, such a good movie, and we kind of agreed like the end was the piece that left a little bit like, did they land the plane? But when you put it like you put it, it makes a little bit more sense.
A little
like
bit
it
more
didn't
sense, yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
Didn't have
It
to.
wasn't the whole movie from the beginning wasn't building up to that ending. It was just everything was building up to this own little like, okay, I'm gonna release some pressure here, and then it would build up a little more something else, and then okay, I'm gonna let you off there, and then you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
And I love the direction. I love the direction of, course 1, course 2, and those editing choices.
Man.
I was like, wow, I really like this. I really dig with the direction of and the camera work and where they put the cameras at certain moments. And I was like, I really appreciate this film. And I don't
great
think
format.
it's enough. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, it was a great format, and like no spoilers or whatever. I think the whole movie is essentially about what is art, how do we ingest art, and how does the way we ingest art affect the art. I'm an artist, so I really took that to heart. Like there's so much about that movie that I loved.
What happens to art when it becomes corrupted, right? That was also kind of a piece in it, is like what happens to art and the artist when that art becomes corrupted or overly monetized.
Yeah, and people insert themselves into the art, or they insert ideas into it that aren't necessarily there, and who gets to enjoy it, who's allowed to. But there's a whole lot there, but also, like you said, the format was fresh as far as how movies are shot, and with movies going the way they're going, like COVID was a big catalyst for movie theaters changing the way the theater is done, and then of course everything being digital, DVDs aren't big anymore, so the way the movies are going to be dropped and received, it's going to be challenging for great fresh movies to be put out, and it was nice to see the Menu to be one of those movies where it's like not up any particular alley. It's something kind of new. It's good to see that in theaters instead of waiting for it to come out on.
I felt like it had a little bit of something for everyone too. It had a little bit of comedy, a little bit of drama, a little bit of romance, some action, some suspense. I was like, wow, like this is. I don't know about you guys. I was glad to have the cinematic experience with that movie.
It was a cinematic experience. Yeah. A good one.
Absolutely. So you're there with the audience. I will now, in terms of the actors and actresses, the chef. I can't remember the actor's name. If someone can help me out. And,
Ralph Fiennes.
Yes. Fiennes. I think it's pronounced Fiennes.
Fiennes. Oh.
Yeah, Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes and Anya Taylor. Oh my God, she's my favorite actress right now. Last Night in Soho is my favorite movie of last year. I loved that movie. I was like enthralled. I was addicted to that movie. I watched it probably 3 times, which is rare for me with an art movie to watch it that many times, especially in that short time period. I love Last Night in Soho, and in this one again, she was a star, just solidifying her place ever since The Queen's Gambit. She is a superstar. She's amazing. And her chemistry with Ralph Fiennes was absolutely just like, it's worth the watch just to see those two go at it. Josh, no spoilers. What was one of your favorite scenes that occurred without spoiling it?
Well, there's a part in the middle where someone has to cook that isn't a cook. And it brought me joy. like ecstatic joy, but it also had me really high anxiety about the implications and the consequences of what was going on.
Yeah.
So it threw a lot of emotions at me all at once, and it happened so quickly that it was like jumping off a roller coaster. Just that one little scene was really powerful to me.
Yeah, I gotta say about the movie, it's a major suicide trigger warning component of the movie. And then also the rare s'mores lover trigger warning. I want to drop that in there. I don't know. There probably aren't many of you out there, but just be prepared.
People love s'mores, and I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't get it either. I've never been on the s'mores train.
Well, Fines calls it an offense on the every sense that a human being has. I
One
love
of the best
that.
lines in the whole movie was
One of
that
the best
line.
lines. Yeah.
Literally, we're not going to spoil it. It's basically offensive that s'mores exist. It was funny. But I'm going to give it a popcorn and 2 beers personally. And my thing is just because I just didn't think it landed the plane. I love the way you put it, Jordan, but it's not going to sway my view. I'm going to keep it at a popcorn and 2 beers. Very close to a perfect movie for me, though. Very close.
It was right there. Well, I'm not usually thrillers aren't usually my thing, and that's kind of a thriller / dark comedy. Dark comedies are my thing, but it was almost like I said with Bullet Train. It was almost an instant classic, timeless, but almost.
What did you give
I'm going to give it a popcorn and.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, I'm going to give it a popcorn and 2 beers because it's
unanimous.
Got everything you like, but honestly, I've been treated worse at Olive Garden. So
I love it. So yes, like Josh said, unanimous. Go see The Menu. We're all in agreement. It's a must-see film this year, and it's a popcorn, 2 beers, and I will lead us into our drunk classic. This is our segment called Drunk Classic, as I just said. I picked the movie this week, and I went with a callback to a Gorp episode and an argument amongst friends. I went with The Way, Way Back with Steve Carell, Amanda Peet. Golly, so many actors. Allison Janney is in it. The funny guy from Heartbreaker. What was that?
Your boy's in it. Rockwell.
My boy. Oh, Sam Rockwell. Yeah, Maya Rudolph. Sam Rockwell just reminds me why he's my favorite actor. Like
Every
in
time.
This movie, he just reminds me. I'm like, God, I love him in everything.
He's such a good actor.
Do anything. Yeah, even his hammer in Iron Man. He's just so good.
Yeah.
And The Way, Way Back, I am biased. I'm going to let everyone know right now. It is a tremendous coming of age. I think it's over 7 years old, so we're not giving away any spoilers at this point.
No.
The relationship between Sam Rockwell and this kid reminds me of relationships that I've had with adults that just help me see my way through difficult times at home or through awkward times where I just needed someone to relate to me or just tell me, hey, I'm not a loser or I'm not different. Like, it's okay to be like that weird, awkward, nice person. And that is what our main character is in this film. And you feel bad for him. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was just saying his name, Pop and Lock.
Yeah, Pop and Lock. And I just like, man, he's so relatable because I think everyone maybe not is him, but has that side to themselves that is that character. And I love The Way, Way Back because it starts off with him in the way, way back of the station wagon, right? And then it ends with him and his mom in the way, way back in the station wagon. Spoiler alert, I guess. But yeah, it's, to me, a popcorn 3 beers because it evokes emotion and nostalgia from me that I don't know that many kids today will even understand what it was like to be able to get on a bicycle and ride to a park or ride to a safe place like your place. And they say that in the movie. The love interest says, no, it's yours. Let it be yours. And I totally respect that. Maya Rudolph, though ancillary, amazing as ever.
Oh, man.
And I thought, as the antagonist, and she was very much the antagonist, if you pay attention to the dialogue and the way the film is shot and the subtle hints at what's going on, Amanda Peet is such a good antagonist. She is, from the moment she's dancing with Poppin' Lock and making fun of the way he dances, like sliding him and kind of teasing him in the living room scene. I'm just like, man, she is such a great antagonist in this movie.
She's good
and
at
I
her
love
job.
the line at the very end when he's standing on the top of the water slide with Sam Rockwell, and he's confessing to him what Steve Carell, the boyfriend, has told him, and he goes, he said I was a 3. Who says that to a person? Who calls someone a 3? And I just felt it, the way the actor delivered it, and I just felt like it should have gotten more acclaim than it got. Okay, Josh, we'll go to you first on this one.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm right in line with everything you're saying. It was a beautiful film. But fun fact, I didn't realize what the way back even meant until years later. It's the back of the station wagon. I didn't understand the purpose of the title. But, yeah, it's the back of the station wagon.
Yeah.
But,
Did I just inform you, Jordan, of what the way back was?
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, but yeah, it's a beautiful film, and it's one of those where it perfectly encapsulates, like, there's nothing to do out here except ride my bike and find something cool. I'm not sure how much that exists for kids these days, but it was my whole childhood was just riding a bike around and finding something to do. That's all I did. And, of course, it was before phones. But it was a lot of fun. And it was really lighthearted most of the time, but it had enough deep impact that, you're probably going to hear me say I cried a lot. I cry a lot, but that movie made me tear up for sure.
It gets me too. But I love
it's got
that
a lot of
feeling.
reality. It's got a lot of right on the nerve reality, and it's a beautiful. I give it 3 beers, 4 beers, whatever. It's a perfect
popcorn
movie to
and
me.
3 beers.
I think it's a perfect movie.
Yeah. Okay, Jordan.
Coming from a perspective of someone who was a 3 as a kid, definitely a child 3 that blossomed
into a 4.
Yeah.
I made it.
Not
I
much
made
improvement. Yeah, but improvement is but it. I had a hard time liking the kid throughout the movie. I call it maybe just shared trauma of a lot of things in the movie,
gotcha, man.
of the experience that the kids were going through, but I didn't like his reactions to a lot of things. But maybe he's a stronger character, a stronger person than I was when I was in some similar situations as him throughout the movie. But like the scene where he has the confrontation with Steve Carell and then
calls his mom.
Yeah, and he like shoves his mom, and I'm like, it's just Some of his reactions to things were just a little bit too much, a little bratty, a little
Sure.
I get that.
A
little bit. They kind of insert where the shy kid, they give him a cinematic moment where he comes out of his shell a little bit, and maybe it's a little bit too much, like you're saying. Yeah, I feel you.
I've definitely been in that situation though when he pushes Steve Carell. And as a child, I've been in that situation. Steve Carell charged him, and I kind of wish there was someone to hold back the adult that charged me in the moment, and there wasn't anybody there for me. I just got my ass whooped. So, and then I had to write the guy that whooped my ass, I'm sorry for being out of line note, because I talk back to an adult.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because people still wonder why I don't like that person. And it's just like, because I'm a better person than them, and I have every right to not like it. But I totally related to that scene where you try to stand up for yourself, but you're too small, so you need help. Sorry, Jordan, I interrupted you, so go ahead.
No, you're good. But the movie overall, the dialogue was fantastic. Most of that is because of Sam Rockwell. My favorite and also a little bit triggering line in the movie was his "Don't let the Dahmer glasses fool you." Obvious reasons. I get that all the time since the Dahmer thing came out.
God, I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
And neither.
Yeah, it was rough. I was like, oh man, it's haunting me. I can't escape it now. I got to change my look, but yeah, you kind of have this angry pit in your stomach throughout the whole movie. I felt like, just like
Yeah.
it, and Sam Rockwell he made the movie for me. I'm gonna give it one and two beers.
A popcorn and 2 beers.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's fair, especially after your review.
Sure.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell is he's so underrated, underappreciated.
I agree.
Really, I hope he's American, right? I mean, you never know these days.
He's American.
Yeah, okay. You never know. Everyone's British now. But
or Australian.
So he's a national treasure. And so is Steve Carell. But they
who knew Steve Carell could play such a great douche? Such a great douchebag.
Yeah. Steve Carell is the sleeper best actor of his generation type of guy. Like, oh yeah, by the way, I deserve all the Oscars, but I'll just stick to The Office. We're good.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps us up this week. I loved it. I think it's a fantastic inaugural episode. Quick preview of next week. Our butter on top will be the cinematic experience that is Avatar 2. Okay. And our drunk classic is going to be Smoking Aces.
It's available on Hulu.
Available on Hulu. So please join us next week, and you can follow us all at the Sad Fan Cast on Twitter. You can also find us online on our YouTube channel, at the Sad Fan Podcast Network, where we review and mention you in all of our comments. We always respond. I will let everyone know who's in the comments, what they're saying, what we're doing, and our new Twitter handle, Pop and Beer. Pop and Beer, at Pop and Beer. So at Popcorn and Beer. Pardon me, at Popcorn and Beer. So for Jordan, for Josh, we'll see you next week.
I love you.